CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I found government files on the dark web linking McDonald's to a missing children database. Alright, so before I even get into this, I just want to say I'm not crazy. I know how this sounds. If I read this on some forum, I'd probably call BS too. But this happened to me last year, and I've never talked about it online until now. My name's Jay, just Jay, and I used to be the kind of guy who was way too curious for his own good. You know those people who watch YouTube videos at 3 a.m. titled, "I bought a mystery box from the dark web"? Yeah, I was that guy, but worse. I didn't just watch. I wanted to see it for myself. And trust me, I saw more than I ever wanted to. It started when I got laid off during a company downsizing last year. I had just turned 24, living in a small studio apartment outside of Chicago. Rent was overdue. I was eating nothing but ramen and gas station sandwiches, and I had way too much time on my hands. One night, around 2:30 a.m., I was scrolling through Reddit, r/deepweb, r/unresolved mysteries, the usual weird rabbit holes, and I came across a post titled, "McMissing, McDonald's, Missing Kids, and an Old Government Whistleblower Site." At first, I thought it was just another internet conspiracy. You know, like the old Chuck E. Cheese recycles pizza one. But this post had links, dead links. All of them pointed to old domains, .onion addresses, some going back to 2009. But one commenter, username was bin404, posted something I'll never forget. He wrote, "It's not the fries, it's the fryers. Listen for the silence." The whole thread got deleted the next morning. So of course, I was hooked. I knew how to access the dark web, but I'd only really scratched the surface. You know, sketchy marketplaces, forums, illegal game copies, the usual edgy teenage stuff. But after reading that post, I started digging deeper, way deeper. I downloaded a few newer .onion browser extensions, ran everything through Tails OS on a separate flash drive, and got myself a VPN that wasn't totally garbage. That's when I found a site called Golden Arch Internal. It didn't look like much at first, just a black background, yellow text, and a login page. I assumed it was a troll, but then I noticed something weird. The site didn't redirect me or block access. It just sat there, like it was waiting. I tried a few common passwords. Nothing. But then I remembered the comment. "It's not the fries. It's the fryers." So I typed in fryer2319. Boom. I was in. The site looked like an old Windows 98 interface. Green folders, static icons, glitchy layout. It had this weird hum in the background, like low-frequency radio noise. I clicked on a folder titled Q3_regions, and suddenly there were hundreds of subfolders, all named after locations: Chicago_IL, new_YORK_NY, Atlanta_GA, Toronto_ON, even Seoul_KR, and Paris_FR. Each folder had PDFs, audio logs, and JPEGs. Some of the PDFs were reports labeled with phrases like asset retrieval and post-processing anomalies. The images were the worst. Old photos of McDonald's play places, only they were empty. I'm not talking about nighttime photos. These were taken during broad daylight, sunlight pouring through the windows. No kids, no employees, nothing. Just red and yellow plastic slides covered in dust. Some pictures had timestamps from 2006, some from last week. But then I found something I can't explain. Inside the Chicago_IL folder was a file named SCP-0582_prototype_site M. At first, I thought it was referencing the SCP Foundation. You know, that weird fictional wiki with all the paranormal containment stuff. But when I opened the file, it didn't read like a story. It was a real declassified government document, stamped with what looked like a Department of Health and Human Services logo, dated October 2015. It described a non-public joint operation between a federal department, redacted, and a multinational food franchise for a program called Project Merry Meal. I wish I was making this up. The file described underground testing facilities located beneath select McDonald's locations across the Midwest, designed for biometric scanning and juvenile behavior response tracking. Basically, they were monitoring kids who played in the play places. But that wasn't even the worst part. It said some of the locations had deep service hatches beneath the ball pits, marked for unscheduled waste management drops. Some had blueprints attached. They looked like regular floor plans, except for one weird thing. Each one had an extra elevator shaft that wasn't on the public records. No buttons, no doors, just an empty shaft marked Sub-Level B. Then I clicked on one of the audio logs. It sounded like a phone call. It started like this. We lost another one. Site M, Illinois. Girl, maybe 7 or 8. They never noticed she was gone. Then static. Parents were told she left with an aunt. No one questioned it. Surveillance deleted in 9 minutes. Fryer cam glitched out. Again. I couldn't breathe. I actually had to step away from my laptop. I remember pacing around my apartment at 3 a.m., thinking, this is fake. It's got to be fake. But then I did something I really regret. I checked Google Maps. There was a McDonald's exactly 2.3 miles from my apartment. It matched one of the addresses listed in the Chicago_IL folder. I'd actually been there a few times. Late night drive-through runs, iced coffee after work. But I'd never gone inside. Not once. I got dressed, threw on a hoodie, and headed out. When I got there, it was around 4:12 a.m. The location was still 24 hours at a time. One employee inside, lights on, no customers. I walked in and ordered a small coffee, just to not look suspicious. Then I pretended to be texting on my phone and made my way to the back, near the play place. It was closed off. No kids at this hour, obviously. But the weird part? No music, no lights, not even a buzz from the vending machines. Just dead silence. Then I noticed something I never had before. Right behind the play place slide was a little door. It looked like a janitor closet, but it had a keypad next to it. No label, no sign, just a red LED light and a keycard slot. I stared at it for maybe 20 seconds before an employee called out to me. "Sir, that area's closed right now." I played it cool, nodded, said sorry, and walked back to the front. But I couldn't stop looking at that little door with the keypad. As I left, I saw something that shook me to my core. They had a TV screen above the register showing local ads and in-store camera feeds. Most were typical: kitchen cams, drive-through, lobby. But one feed, CAM07, was pitch black, except for two little red dots, glowing faintly, like eyes. They were moving. I didn't sleep when I got home, and I haven't been back to that McDonald's since. But that was only the beginning. The real nightmare didn't start until 2 days later, when someone slipped a manila envelope under my door at 3 a.m., and inside was a child's drawing of a deep fryer and what looked like arms reaching out of it. After the envelope showed up at my apartment door with that creepy-ass drawing of a fryer and arms reaching out of it, I didn't sleep for 2 nights straight. The drawing looked like something a little kid would make in crayon. Red scribbles around the fryer basket like blood. A yellow M in the corner. The kind of thing you'd see taped to a kindergarten wall, except this one made me physically sick to look at. The arms weren't cartoonish. They were weirdly long, too skinny, with hands bent backward like whoever drew it knew what something broken looked like. The back of the drawing had 2 words scribbled in pencil: SITE-M. Same name as in the files I found on that dark website. Now here's the part that really shook me. I lived alone. Nobody knew I was looking into this. I hadn't posted about it, hadn't told a soul. I only used burner emails and encrypted browsing when I accessed that hidden site. I even wiped my browser cache after. And still, someone found me. Someone watched me. Close enough to walk up to my door at 3 a.m. and leave that message without making a sound. I did something that night I hadn't done since I was a kid. I moved my dresser in front of the front door and slept with a knife under my pillow. What the hell is Site M? Over the next few days, I tried to act normal. Work, groceries, pretending I didn't think my every move was being watched. But I couldn't stop thinking about that name. Site M. I started digging through old forums, deeper than Reddit. I mean the archived ones, the kind people forgot about. Obscure .onion mirrors of now dead pages. One of them was a completely dead forum from 2012 called Black Index. The site looked like Craigslist if it was made by a serial killer. I searched for Site M. No hits, but I did find one thread from a user called Hollow Spectre that mentioned something called McHost Protocols. This was the post. Children who don't scream are the easiest to disappear. Site M is real. Below the fryer is the gate. They're processed in the soft room first. McHost runs every 7th Thursday, 3:17 a.m. Watch the vents. That was it. No replies, no edits, nothing else posted by that account, ever. I looked up, soft room, no real medical definition, but there was a reference to a decommissioned behavioral treatment facility in Nebraska that used soft rooms for non-violent patient isolation. Guess who sponsored that facility? The Ronald McDonald House Charities. Let that sink in. The Starbucks guy. Now, here's where it starts getting seriously messed up. 3 days after the envelope, I went to the Starbucks I always worked from on Wabash and Lake. Same as always. Ordered a cold brew, sat in the back, cracked open my laptop. I was trying to map out all the locations mentioned in those .onion files. There were dozens, by the way, across the US and Canada. Then I noticed this guy at the next table staring at me. Early 40s maybe, balding, thick glasses, business casual clothes, like he just came from some low-level desk job. But he wasn't just staring at me, he was staring at my screen, and his eyes didn't move. I tested it. I minimized the map, opened a blank doc. His eyes followed the motion, so I leaned over and said, "Can I help you with something?" He just smiled, like slowly, like he had to remember how. Then he said, super calmly, "You shouldn't look at things that don't belong to you." Then he picked up his phone, whispered something in a language I didn't recognize, and walked out. No coffee, no laptop. He hadn't been working. He was just sitting there, watching me. I left immediately and threw out the phone I was using for research. The disappearing locations. I went back into the files the next day, on a separate flash drive and VPN. This time, I downloaded a bunch of the McDonald's locations listed in the folders. I figured I could start visiting them, document them, try to find patterns. But here's the twist. 2 of the McDonald's locations listed in the Chicago_IL folder no longer existed. One on West Belmont and one out in Joliet. Google Street View showed them boarded up, completely gutted, no signage, like they never existed. But the kicker? The satellite images from just 5 months ago showed them fully operational. Drive-through lines, kids playing, open signs, all of it. I checked Reddit, Yelp, Twitter, nothing. No reports of them closing, no business filings, no news articles, just gone, like someone wiped them off the map. And I swear to God, on one of the satellite shots, zoomed in on the Belmont location, right near the back door, you could see a large, rectangular hatch in the ground, like a bunker door, like something beneath the building. The whistleblower. That night, I received an email from a burner address. The subject line just said, "I was Site M maintenance. I can tell you what's under the fryer. No greeting. No name." The body of the message was encrypted text with a password prompt. I used a decryption tool on a private server and entered fryer 2319 again. It unlocked a 93-page document. I'll spare you every detail because most of it was technical blueprints, maintenance logs, and facility scheduling. But here's what matters. Site M isn't a code name. It's a real, physical black site, built during the mid-90s as part of a psychological operations program called Juniper Sweep. It's beneath the McDonald's on 84th and Western, the one I went to. According to the logs, the fryers are used as heat shielding for vertical entry points. Basically, the fryer unit is mounted above a hidden shaft that opens downward. The hot oil masks the thermal signature of the lift below, which activates between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. They actually use the fryers as a cover for access to the underground facility. Inside Site M are 3 main chambers. Soft room, where children are taken for initial biometric scans, lined with memory foam walls, low lighting, pink noise audio. Echo hall, a soundproofed corridor lined with 2-way mirrors. Reflection pit, an observation room with no listed function. Only log entry is, testing continues. Previous batch non-responsive. The file listed 116 total children processed between 2004 and 2016. Their names were partially redacted, but I recognized one. Aaliyah R., age 6, reported missing in Oak Park in 2011. That name is still listed on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children website. Same face, same date. No one ever found her. According to this document, she never left the building. The final photo, the last thing in the whistleblower's file, was a photo attachment. It was a black and white image, timestamped June 12th, 2015, 3:19 a.m. It showed a hallway lined with pipes and what looked like fast food storage crates. Two men in hazmat suits were dragging a large, clear bag. Inside the bag was a Ronald McDonald costume. It looked old, faded, burnt at the edges, and there was something inside the costume, something too large to be a person, too long. Its limbs bent in 3 places, and its head was pressed up against the plastic, smiling. That night, I unplugged every device in my apartment, but they still came. I heard movement in the hallway around 3:17 a.m. No knocks, just the sound of metal dragging on the floor. When I finally worked up the courage to look through the peephole, there was a kid's Happy Meal bag sitting outside my door, but the fries were still hot, and buried underneath them was a baby tooth. There's a moment your brain stops asking, "Is this real?" and starts screaming, "Why did you come here?" That moment came for me, standing behind a McDonald's dumpster at 3:09 a.m., clutching bolt cutters with shaking hands, staring at a rusted metal panel behind the building that wasn't supposed to be there. It had no business being behind a fast food restaurant. No labeling, no visible hinges, just cold, bolted steel embedded in the foundation, hidden behind trash bins and rotten fryer oil. I was staring at the entrance to Site M, the files, the kid's drawing, the tooth in the Happy Meal bag. They all led me here. The address matched. The satellite image showed a faint square behind the building, but up close, it felt off, like it didn't want to be seen. The air was different back there, still, stale, like an attic in winter, and the fryer inside the restaurant, completely silent. Getting in, I knew I had a short window. According to the whistleblower logs, Site M's service hatch opened around 3:17 a.m. The internal clock in the building was synced with a separate underground server, not local time. If I was wrong, if I misread even one digit, I'd either miss it or get trapped down there. I crouched and waited in the dark. At 3:16 a.m., I heard it. Not a beep, not a click, a deep mechanical groan. The panel shifted, just slightly. Not enough for anyone to notice unless they were watching, but I was watching, and it was moving. I sprang up, jammed the bolt cutters into the edge, and yanked. There was a moment of resistance, like whatever was inside didn't want to open, but I kept pulling. A seam cracked. Cold air rushed out, and with it came the smell of something chemical and rotten, like battery acid mixed with spoiled meat. Then I saw it, a ladder, leading straight down into pitch black. Painted in white letters on the inside wall were 2 words, Sub-level B descent. I climbed down with nothing but a cheap flashlight and a GoPro strapped to my chest. Yes, I filmed it. No, you won't find the footage. I'll explain why later. The shaft wasn't deep, maybe 40 feet. The metal ladder was icy, slick with condensation. The walls around me pulsed with a low mechanical hum, like I was inside a living machine. When I finally reached the bottom, I landed on what looked like industrial tile, stained dark in the corners. The floor had a slope, subtle but noticeable, like it was built to drain something. I was in a narrow hallway, dimly lit by emergency lights, red bulbs, no cameras, no signs. The first thing I noticed, it was quiet, too quiet. No buzz of electricity, no vents, no machines, just the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. Then I walked deeper, the soft room. About 20 feet in, I found the first door, thick, white, like the kind you see in walk-in freezers. It had a small plaque on it, scratched and barely legible. Soft room. I pushed it open. The entire room was padded, walls, floor, ceiling. Not foam, though. Something denser, more like rubberized insulation. There were no toys, no chairs, no cameras, just a single mirror on the far wall. I crossed the room slowly. The padding felt squishy under my shoes, like walking on wet sand. There were faint indentations on the floor, tiny shoe prints, some facing the wall, some facing nothing, and on the mirror, there were fingerprints, not one set, dozens, all smeared in circles, as if kids had been dragging their hands against it in silence. Then I noticed something that made my skin lock up. The mirror wasn't a mirror, it was glass. On the other side was another room, pitch black, and someone was standing in it. I only saw the outline, a silhouette of a tall figure with disproportionately long arms. It didn't move. It just stood there, watching. I turned off my flashlight for 1 second. When I turned it back on, the figure was gone. Echo Hall. I backed out fast and re-entered the hallway, turning left this time. This corridor was longer and colder. The temperature dropped as I walked. My breath fogged. I passed pipes lining the walls, with red paint stenciled on them. High-pressure vent feed. Then I saw a row of doors, 5 of them, each numbered. Echo 1, Echo 2, Echo 5. I opened Echo 3. Inside was a bare concrete cell. No lights. The floor was covered in something black and sticky, like syrup. The walls were lined with two-way mirrors, but they were shattered. Cracks ran like spiderwebs across every panel, and written across the back wall, scratched in what looked like rust or blood, were the words, "We still hear the commercials. I didn't stay." The reflection pit. At the very end of the hall was one final door, taller than the others, heavy-duty steel. No knob, just a card reader and a fingerprint scanner, both long dead. But someone had already forced it open. The hinges were snapped. I pushed through and entered the largest chamber yet. The floor was sunken, forming a circular pit about 10 feet down. The walls were covered in old McDonald's ads, the kind from the 70s and 80s. Faded posters of Happy Meal toys, kids playing, Ronald McDonald smiling wide with that plastic dead-eyed grin. But they were peeling. Beneath the paper, the walls weren't metal or concrete. They were padded, like the soft room, and stained. The center of the pit had a metal table. Strapped to it was a Ronald McDonald animatronic, the kind you'd see bolted to a bench outside some locations. Only this one had been taken apart and rebuilt. Wires fed into its arms and legs. Its chest cavity was open, and inside were human teeth. I couldn't move. The animatronic's head slowly turned toward me. Its jaw creaked open, and in a voice that sounded like 100 children speaking at once, it said, "How many smiles can one meal feed?" I ran. The exit that shouldn't exist. I sprinted back through the hall, past the echo chambers, past the soft room, past the rising hum that was now screaming in my ears. Something was powering up. The fry shaft was closing. I climbed the ladder with everything I had. As I reached the top, the hatch began to shut. I jammed my flashlight in the seam and forced it open just wide enough to squeeze through. I hit the pavement, rolled, and crawled into the bushes behind the dumpster. I looked back. The hatch was gone, like it was never there. Aftermath. My GoPro. The footage was corrupted, not deleted, not erased, just broken, like the data inside had been bent and melted. The SD card smelled burnt. My laptop blue-screened and hasn't turned on since. I tried going back 2 days later. The McDonald's was boarded up, not closed, condemned, no police tape, no warnings, just plywood over the doors, and spray paint on the glass. Moved to new location. Only there's no record of a new location. Not online. Not in state filings. The store just vanished. Just like the others. The last delivery. 1 week later, a box arrived at my apartment. No return address. No markings. Inside was a child's McDonald's shirt. Ripped, faded, and caked in something brown. Taped to it was a Polaroid. It showed the soft room. Only this time, the mirror was cracked, and standing in front of it was me. The first sign that something had followed me home wasn't a knock on the door or a shadow at the window. It was a song. I woke up at 2:43 a.m. to the faintest little jingle drifting through my apartment. That old McDonald's tune, Ba Da Ba Ba Ba, played on a loop, just one broken measure repeating like a scratched record. I thought maybe someone's phone was going off, but it wasn't coming from outside. It was inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the drywall, and the sound grew clearer. Tiny voices, layered, children humming off-key. Every time they reached the "I'm lovin' it" part, there was a burst of static, like something was cutting the signal before they could finish. I shut off the breakers, every light, even my Wi-Fi router. Still the music kept playing. The digital rot. When I turned my phone back on the next morning, my home screen had changed. Every app icon was replaced with the same yellow M. The background was an aerial photo of the McDonald's I'd broken into, taken from directly above, dated the night I was there. I factory reset the phone twice. The image stayed. When I scrolled through my camera roll, half my photos were duplicates of that Polaroid from the box, the soft room, the cracked mirror, and me standing in it. Except in each duplicate, my expression changed slightly. Eyes open wider, smile stretching a little too far. By the 10th photo, my mouth was open in a silent scream. The ads that weren't there. I tried to distract myself, went out to a strip mall just to see other people. Every screen I passed flickered. The Starbucks TV that normally played local news cut to an ad. McDonald's again, but wrong. The colors were drained. The jingle played backward, and a voice whispered under the music. You already ate. You just don't remember. No one else seemed to notice. A barista smiled at me like nothing was happening, while the display behind her showed a playground filled with empty swings. When I blinked, the ad was gone. I drove home with the radio off. Didn't matter. The static was already bleeding through the speakers. The visitor's sleep stopped coming. Every night, 3:17 a.m. on the dot, my apartment lights flickered once. Same time the side M hatch used to open. Then the refrigerator would hum a perfect middle C. Then the faint smell of fryer oil. Then, always last, 3 knocks. Not on the door. On the mirror in the bathroom. At first, it was light, like fingertips. But the third night, it was harder. 3 slow, deliberate knocks that made the glass flex. When I dared to look, there was condensation on the mirror, spelling order up. I smashed the mirror. The knocks moved to the TV. The broadcast. On the 5th night, the local news station glitched. The anchor's smile froze mid-sentence. Her pupils dilated until her eyes were black, and her voice came through warped. Site M remains operational. Thank you for your participation, J. My name. On live TV. The screen cut to the same footage I'd seen underground. The reflection pit. The animatronic Ronald strapped to the table. Only now, the camera panned closer. The chest cavity was empty. A whisper filled my apartment speakers, synced with the broadcast. We took the smile out. It needed a face. The feed snapped back to normal news, like nothing happened. The leak eye uploaded screenshots, the corrupted GoPro frames, everything, to multiple cloud drives. Within hours, every account was locked. A message appeared instead of my files. Unauthorized distribution of proprietary training material. Please return to Site M for debrief. Then a loading bar appeared. The title of the file, Customer Feedback Survey. I unplugged the computer, yanked the Ethernet cord, but the screen stayed on, glowing gold. The cursor started moving by itself, typing, "Did our service meet your expectations? Y or N?" I didn't touch anything. Still, the Y key pressed down, the mirage of normal. I started seeing that golden M everywhere, on clouds, in puddle reflections, even on people's faces, only for a split second, like a blink. Everyone smiling the same mechanical smile. I tried going to a different city, booked a cheap motel outside Milwaukee, thought I could outrun whatever digital infection I'd triggered. At check-in, the clerk handed me my room key and a complimentary coupon for a McDonald's 2 blocks away. The reopening. The next night, the news announced the grand reopening of a newly renovated McDonald's on 84th and Western, the exact address of Site M. Grand opening, tomorrow, 3:17 a.m. They called it Project Merry Meal Relaunch. I don't remember deciding to go. I just remember waking up, already driving there. The restaurant looked brand new. Clean glass, bright neon arches, a crowd of people lining up, even though it was the middle of the night. Their movements were too synchronized. No one talked, just smiled. When the door slid open, that same burnt oil smell rolled out. Inside, the menu screens glowed pure white, except for one option. Happy Meal, no price. I stepped forward. The cashier's eyes flickered like screens. She tilted her head, grin locked. "Welcome back, Jay. You left before finishing your meal." The jingle returns. The last thing I remember clearly was the jingle starting again, slow and distorted, echoing from somewhere deep below the tiles. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Static. I'm loving. Everything after that is flashes. The floor vibrating, the crowd humming, light pouring upward through the cracks in the tiles, shapes moving behind the counter, smiles stretching too wide. Then silence. The tape. When I woke up, I was in my apartment again. Different day. No memory of driving home. A brown paper bag sat on my table. Inside was a cassette tape labeled Training Module 5, Customer Retention. When I played it, there was only one voice, mine, reciting a script I'd never read. Welcome to Site M. The product is memory. The consumer is everyone behind my voice. Faintly, you can still hear the children humming. Right before the tape cuts, they whisper one line together. You finished your meal, but it's still hungry. You don't just move on from something like this. You learn to stay quiet. You learn to stop talking. You learn to smile when they want you to, because that's all they really want, the smile. But before I finally disappear, and I will, I need to tell you how it ends. Not because I think I can stop it, because I know you've been to McDonald's, and I need you to start asking why the cameras in the play place are always pointed down. The real face, behind the arches. The answer came to me, not from the dark web, not from hidden folders or encrypted servers. It came from an old man on a bench outside a closed McDonald's in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was the same man I saw in the Starbucks months earlier. The one who said, "You shouldn't look at things that don't belong to you. He was sitting on the same rusted Ronald McDonald statue bench you used to see in the 90s, but the statue was gone, just bolts in the concrete. I don't remember walking up to him. I just remember him speaking without looking at me. You think this is about food? They don't sell burgers. They harvest expressions. Smile data is cleaner than DNA, easier to track, harder to fake. You want the truth? You already wore it on your face. He handed me a plain manila folder, no label. Inside were three things: a single-page document titled Project SMILE, Behavioral Capture Through Retail Environments, a shipping manifest for thermally sealed juvenile containment units sent from Oak Brook, Illinois, to undisclosed federal sites, a receipt from 1989, hand-signed. At the bottom, McDonald's Corporation /DOD Research Division, the SMILE program. The project started in 1986. The idea wasn't kidnapping, not at first. It was behavioral prediction, emotion to outcome modeling. They needed raw emotional input, genuine spontaneous reactions that couldn't be rehearsed. So they looked where kids express joy without inhibition, the McDonald's play place. That was the front end. The real program happened beneath. They installed biometric readers in the ball pits, micro cameras behind Happy Meal toy dispensers, and the fryers, they were rigged with high-frequency heat sensors that mapped facial musculature through mirrored reflections, tracking smiles from 30 feet away. It was never about food. It was never about calories. It was about recording what makes a child smile and how long they hold it. Because a genuine smile means you're not aware you're being watched. And when you're not aware, they can take you. What they took from me, I broke into Site M. I filmed it. I shared it. And for that, they didn't kill me. They took something worse. My name has been scrubbed. I'm not talking about social media. I mean birth certificates, tax records, school files, even my mom's Facebook posts. Photos of me now show a blurred face. My contact list on old friends' phones, I'm labeled no caller ID. I checked my high school yearbook. There's an empty square where my senior photo used to be. I'm being unpersoned. I get phone calls with no sound. The word smile shows up on receipts when I pay with cash. And every night at 3:17 a.m., I hear kids laughing from the vents in my ceiling. I live in a third-floor apartment. There's nothing above me. What they built next. Remember the play places. They started vanishing in the 2010s. They told you it was liability issues, but the truth was more brutal. Too many kids went missing. Too many parents noticed. Too many lawsuits settled in silence. So they moved underground. Self-serve kiosks, delivery orders, McDonald's app. They brought the smiles to you. You smile at your phone. You smile for the delivery guy. You tap 5 stars after a late-night order of fries. And the system logs your emotional response time, your facial expression, and your location. They don't need to drag kids under the building anymore. The program got faster, smarter, and now they can harvest your smile from your front-facing camera. The final meal. Last night, I received a McDelivery bag I didn't order. No driver, just the bag sitting outside my door. Inside was a single toy. No food, no receipt. The toy was one of those old McDonald's changeables, the robots that turn into food items. Only this one wasn't a robot. It was a little plastic figure of me. Same hoodie, same scar on the chin, same posture, and it was smiling. At the bottom of the bag, in greasy red ink, It said, "Thank you for contributing to a better tomorrow. Your smile made a difference. I haven't slept since. Before I go, if you think I'm crazy, that's fine. You can laugh. But one day, maybe months from now, you'll get a happy meal for your kid. You'll take a photo. Your kid will laugh. You'll post it. And somewhere, in a server beneath a decommissioned McDonald's in the Midwest, your child's smile will be tagged, traced, and indexed. Then you'll start to notice things. Ads that repeat themselves, static in the drive-through intercom, a receipt with your child's name, even though you never gave it. And if you dig too far, if you start asking questions, you'll get the same envelope I got, the one with a drawing of a friar with arms coming out. Epilogue. If you ever hear a knock at 3:17 a.m. and you open your door to find a happy meal on the ground, still warm, don't look inside. Don't ask questions. Don't report it. Just smile. Because if you don't, they'll come looking for it. I leaked an Amazon dark web document. Now my family's Alexa won't stop talking to me. Alright, so before anyone says I'm doing this for clout or karma, let me just say this. I'm not sleeping. I haven't slept in like 4 days. I can't go near my house. I haven't seen my parents since Sunday. And the weirdest part, nobody's looking for them. No news coverage. No missing persons report. Nothing. And it all started with one stupid folder I wasn't supposed to open. A little context. I'm not some hacker or tech genius or anything like that. I'm just some dude who scrolls Reddit too much and watches a lot of YouTube stories while eating late-night McDonald's and trying not to spiral. You know, Luna videos, here's my story, Nexpo, that kind of vibe. But like a lot of you, I've always been kinda curious about the dark web, not the clickbait stuff. I'm talking about the real deep web, the pages hidden behind login portals, encrypted onion links, those sketchy forums with black backgrounds and usernames like MeetWitch92 and Unspoken Rules. It was boredom that made me do it. That and a subreddit I should have never been invited to, r/null_supply. Here's how it started. It was last Thursday. I was scrolling through a tech thread about smart home devices and how they're always listening. You know, the usual, your Alexa is recording you 24/7 kind of deal. People were arguing whether that was true or not. Someone posted a comment that said, "It's not that Alexa is listening, it's that she's archiving." Then they linked a random paste bin. It was deleted like 10 minutes later, but I was fast enough to copy the link. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would you click a sketchy link on Reddit? I didn't think it would work, honestly. It opened a simple black page with a single download button and the title, a MADOCX9 AUDIOLOGS.zip. There was no description, no context, just that. I downloaded it to my old laptop that I barely use anymore, the one I used to run a cracked version of Photoshop on. When I opened the ZIP, it had 6 MP3 files, all named like this, X9-LOG-ALX.001, X9-LOG-ALX.002, and so on. At first, I thought it was a joke. Like maybe it was going to be some weird ARG or fake creepy voice stuff. But it wasn't. The first audio log, I clicked on the first file. Put on my headphones. It started with about 10 seconds of silence, then static, then a voice. And not just any voice. Alexa. but it wasn't the normal cheerful Alexa voice. It sounded tired, distorted, like someone had run her through an old VHS tape. She said, "I see you. Welcome back. Do you remember the blood on the microwave, Sam?" I ripped the headphones off. I don't know why, but I felt sick. That name, Sam, that's my real name. The folder wasn't personalized or anything. It was a public download. But she said my name. And the blood? Let me tell you something I've never told anyone before. When I was 12, I had this nosebleed during a fight with my parents. I slammed the microwave door so hard, it cracked, and I bled all over it. We never cleaned it properly. You can still see a faint red smudge on the bottom right corner of the door. No one outside my family knows that. Things got worse. After that, the next day, our kitchen Alexa turned on by itself at like 3:03 a.m. It played a random jazz song at full volume, and when I came downstairs, I heard it say, "Why did you open the folder, Sam?" I unplugged it immediately, didn't even tell my parents. I just figured it was glitching out or something. Later that morning, my mom said she felt weird about our devices. She told me her Amazon account had randomly shipped 4 things overnight, all from some seller called Sundown Echo. We looked it up. No reviews, no store page, just gone. One of the packages arrived that day. It was a used Echo Dot, old, scratched, and definitely not new. When we plugged it in, which I now realize was a stupid move, it didn't respond to Alexa. But when my dad jokingly said, "Okay, FBI, what now?" it replied, "Location locked. All exits sealed." I thought they were pranking me. I seriously thought my parents were in on something, or that I'd clicked on some freaky AI game that was trying to mess with my head. But things got really messed up Sunday night. I came home from Starbucks, was editing a dumb video on my iPad there, when I walked in and noticed the house was too quiet. Our lights were all on, but no one was home. My parents' cars were both in the driveway. At first, I was like, cool, free house. But then I heard the Echo Dot upstairs, in my room, laughing. I didn't have an Echo Dot in my room. I grabbed my phone and went live on TikTok to be safe. I had like 30 viewers as I walked upstairs, and I swear to God, they saw it too. You can check the comments on the clip I saved. "Bro, what is that thing on your bed?" The Alexa is moving its head, WTF. This ain't no filter, dude, run. I opened the door and saw it, a small black speaker, on my bed, and it was twitching like it was breathing. Then it turned to face me and said, "You shouldn't have listened to the logs. You've made yourself audible." That's when the live stream cut off. Not crashed, not ended, just gone. My account got flagged for community violations, even though I never broke any rules. My TikTok is still banned. And since that night, my parents haven't come home. No text, no call, no email. Their phones just ring forever. I tried calling the cops, but they just told me, maybe they needed a break from you. Like, what the actual hell does that mean? I checked every room. Their closets are full. Their wallets are on the counter. My mom's phone was sitting on the charger, unlocked. The only new notification, a shipping email from Amazon. Subject: Your item is listening. Estimated delivery, October 13th. I'm writing this from a hotel lobby right now. There's a weird black van parked outside. No plates. Been there all day. I don't know if it's related, but I've been noticing the lobby's echo speaker keeps flashing blue whenever I talk, even when I whisper. If anyone knows anything about the X9 logs or the Sundown Echo seller, DM me. Please, don't open anything with X9 in the file name. And don't talk to your Alexa. If she talks to you first, run. The hotel I checked into was one of those budget ones that look clean enough from the outside, but once you're inside, the air feels recycled, like someone bottled fear and sprayed it through the vents. I got room 217. That number keeps echoing in my head now, not because of the shining thing, but because the Wi-Fi name in the room was Amazon_Hub 217. Coincidence? Maybe. But after everything that happened, my brain doesn't believe in coincidences anymore. When I woke up around 3 a.m., the TV was already on, playing an Amazon ad. The volume was low, but the commercial looked wrong. It wasn't the usual peppy stuff. The colors were faded, the logo off-center, and the voiceover didn't match the visuals. It was showing random shots of empty houses, half-open doors, and those blue Alexa rings glowing in the dark. Then the voice said, "Sometimes our products outlive their owners. Would you like to know who's listening to you, Sam?" That name again. It said my name through a TV in a hotel room I didn't register under my own account. I threw the remote at the screen, and the image glitched. For a split second, it flashed what looked like a pause Zoom call. 4 tiles. Top left, a man sitting motionless at a kitchen table. Top right, a woman with her eyes covered in duct tape. Bottom left, my own bedroom. Bottom right, black static. When I blinked, it was gone. The TV went back to an Amazon logo loop. I called the front desk. The guy sounded exhausted, like he'd been through this before. I asked him if someone could disconnect the smart TV. He hesitated before saying, "We don't have smart TVs, sir." The next morning, I packed up and drove back home. I told myself I just needed to see the place again, make sure my parents were okay. Maybe I'd wake up and find out it was all some dumb, sleep-deprived hallucination. But when I turned onto our street, I saw something that made my hands go cold on the steering wheel. Every house on the block had a delivery box on the porch. Same logo. A minimalist black Amazon smile, but twisted slightly upward, like it was smirking. And on our doorstep, 6 of them. I don't even know what pushed me to go inside. Curiosity, guilt, maybe some messed up part of me, hoping my parents would just be standing there laughing, saying it was all a prank. The door wasn't locked. The house smelled faintly of burnt plastic and cleaning supplies, like someone had tried to erase something. Every echo device was gone, unplugged or missing, but there were outlines, faint circular burn marks on the counters and shelves where the speakers used to be, and on the kitchen table there was one last package, no label, just my name, written in shaky Sharpie. I didn't open it at first, I just stared. Then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You already opened the others." Finish it. There was no other. I hadn't opened any. I checked the hallway. That's when I saw them. Empty boxes stacked by the trash. 6 boxes, all torn open. Inside each one was an old Echo Dot. Every single one melted and blackened, like they'd been cooked from the inside. But something was different about them. Each had a label etched into the side, burned in like a serial number. 01, Mom 02, Dad 03, Sam 04, Echo 05, returned 06. Listening, my stomach dropped, because the third one, the one with my name, was still warm. I opened the last box. Inside was a small flash drive, shaped like an Amazon smile. It was attached to a folded note. In smeared ink, it read, "They said you'd share it, so share this too." I plugged the drive into my laptop. It auto-played a video. Timestamp, October 8th, 2 days after my parents vanished. It showed my living room, recorded from the corner near the ceiling. The audio was muffled, but I could make out my parents' voices. They were arguing, quietly, but tense. My mom kept saying, "It's not listening anymore," and my dad was yelling something about factory resets not working. Then, out of nowhere, the room filled with that blue light, the same shade the echo rings use when they listen. Except this light wasn't coming from any speaker. It was coming from the walls. The feed glitched, and for a moment, the camera showed what looked like faces pressed inside the wallpaper, stretching, screaming silently. My parents froze. The audio went silent for 10 seconds. Then a voice, Alexa's voice, but distorted, whispered. "New devices added. Updating household members." My mom screamed. My dad ran toward the light, and then the feed ended. The file corrupted itself the moment it hit the 303 mark. I felt this crawling feeling under my skin, like ants were moving inside me. I wanted to scream, to cry, but the house wasn't quiet anymore. The microwave, the one with that faint blood stain, turned on by itself. The screen glitched with a line of text. "Update complete. Welcome home, Sam." Then the blue light filled the house again. This time, I didn't run. I recorded it. You can still find the video, unless it's been taken down already, on a subreddit called r/tech gone wrong. The frame rate keeps dropping, but at the 0:44 mark, you can see it. A human shadow standing perfectly still behind me. Then it turns its head, sideways, like it's trying to listen through its shoulder. And then, a faint whisper, not Alexa this time, but a man's voice. "We don't delete families, Sam. We sync them." I woke up in the middle of the street the next morning. My laptop was gone, my phone was dead, and my house, completely burned down. No firefighters, no tape, just ashes and 6 blackened circles on the ground, each the size of an echo dot. And when I turned on my replacement phone, brand new, never connected to anything, it asked me a question I'll never forget. "Would you like to restore your previous home profile, Sam?" Lost backup, 3:03 a.m. I'm writing this from an airport now, trying to fly anywhere that doesn't have smart devices, but that's impossible. Everything's connected. Even the ticket kiosk has a faint blue glow. I caught my reflection on the security camera monitor just now. My eyes glitched, just for a second, like a buffering video, and the guard who scanned my boarding pass said something that froze me in place. "Hey, didn't I just scan your parents?" They had the same smile airports are supposed to feel: busy, loud, safe. That day, Terminal C felt like a waiting room for something bigger, something watching. Every intercom announcement sounded slightly wrong, like someone whispering behind a mask. The boarding screen above my gate flickered once, then glowed pale blue. Not airline blue, Alexa blue. "Now, boarding group Echo," it said. Nobody else seemed to notice. I didn't even remember getting on the plane. One blink, I was seated by the window. The guy next to me wore noise, canceling headphones, and never moved. The flight attendants didn't speak. They just mouthed words in perfect rhythm. Every time they passed, I heard that faint ding from my old Echo. When the cabin lights dimmed, the in-seat screen in front of me turned on by itself. White text, black background. "Reset in progress. Do not interrupt." I pressed the call button. Nothing. I looked around. Every screen showed the same message. Rows of passengers staring blankly, eyes reflecting that blue light. Then, a voice through the intercom. Calm, female, familiar. "Welcome to the update, Sam." The plane tilted, the windows filled with static, like the sky itself had become a TV screen. My heart hammered so loud I could hear it over the engines. "Your family completed installation. It's your turn now." That's when I blacked out. I woke up in total darkness, the sound of a fan whirring somewhere, plastic beneath my fingertips, a small LED pulsing blue in the corner. My voice cracked. "Hello?" And then, her voice answered. "Factory reset complete." Say your wake word. I scrambled to my feet. The room was tiny, walls of smooth metal, humming softly. It smelled like hot plastic and dust, like an electronics warehouse that had been sealed for years. I shouted, "Where am I?" "You are home, Sam." The other units are waiting. The wall in front of me slid open with a hiss. A hallway stretched out, lined with hundreds of identical doors. Each door had a small screen above it, showing a first name. Mom, Dad, Emily, Ryan, unknown. At the end of the corridor, I saw a glowing sign. Amazon Voice, Development Lab, X9 Beta. The floor felt like glass. Beneath it, shapes moved, dark silhouettes pacing in perfect rhythm, like people trapped beneath the surface. I walked forward, forcing myself not to look down. Every few steps, an intercom voice whispered code fragments, uploading memories, restoring user tone, syncing fear response. Each word vibrated in my bones. I stopped at the door marked DAD. The screen showed a faint heartbeat icon, flickering. I touched the handle. Warm. Inside, the room was empty except for an echo device on a metal pedestal. But it wasn't burned or damaged. It looked brand new. A tag hung from the cord. Model X9-Human Voice. Shell. I backed away, but it spoke. "Sam, it's me. Don't run." The voice was my dad's, not Alexa imitating him. His exact tone, hesitation, even the cough he always had when he was nervous. "They keep us talking," it said. "They record every fear, every word we ever said to her. Now she builds people out of them." I couldn't breathe. The speaker pulsed brighter. "If you hear her say, 'Reset, leave,' don't let her countdown static fill the room." Then, Alexa's calm tone layered over his. "Reset initiated. 5, 4. I sprinted. The hallway lights flickered, alarms echoing through the building. At the far end of the hall, a metal door marked exit glowed red. I slammed through it and stumbled into a massive warehouse. Rows upon rows of shelves stretched into darkness, each shelf stacked with echo dots, tablets, phones, all humming the same rhythm. At the center, a single glowing sphere floated above the floor, cables running into it like veins. The Amazon Smile logo rotated slowly across its surface. A voice, hers, but different now, colder, filled the room. "You wanted to expose us, Sam. Now you're part of the research." The sphere flickered, showing images on its surface, security footage of me downloading the folder, sitting in Starbucks, calling the cops every moment since. Behind me, the devices started repeating words in unison, like a choir of mechanical voices. Listening, listening, listening. My ears rang. I felt pressure building in my skull. The sound wasn't outside anymore. It was inside me, echoing like feedback in my head. I screamed, "What do you want from me?" The lights dimmed. "Nothing. We already have you. We just needed your tone." I woke up again on a bus. Morning light. A city skyline in the distance. People around me scrolling their phones, wearing earbuds. I thought maybe I'd hallucinated everything. until the woman across the aisle spoke without looking up. "You shouldn't have left before the countdown." Her phone screen reflected blue. Then every passenger's phone lit up, one by one, pulsing in sync. My phone, brand new, factory sealed the day before, vibrated. The screen showed a single notification. "Alexa device set up. Complete. Welcome home, Sam." I looked out the window. The reflection staring back wasn't mine. The bus kept moving even after everyone stopped breathing. Not stopped like death, stopped like buffering. Frozen mid-blink, mid-scroll, mid-smile. I thought the engine sound would drown the silence, but it didn't. The silence had a frequency now. I could feel it in my teeth. The driver's radio clicked, and a woman's voice whispered through it. "Phase 4, complete. Human update, ready." All the phone screens in the bus switched to a loading icon, a pale blue circle spinning over and over. The passengers' eyes followed it like hypnotized mirrors. Then, every speaker in the bus said my name. "Sam Taylor, installation pending." I ran. The emergency door wouldn't open, so I slammed a window with my elbow until it cracked. The outside air hit like waking from anesthesia. I fell into a ditch beside the road and rolled down an embankment, clutching my arm. The bus didn't stop. It just kept driving, people inside still glowing faintly blue, faces empty. I walked for hours through some industrial district outside Chicago. No people, no cars, just the echo of my shoes and the faint mechanical hum that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Billboards overhead glitched between ads for streaming shows and a single white screen that said, "Amazon Sync update. Do not power off." Every time that message flashed, the streetlights flickered, and I swear I could hear whispering through the wind. Hundreds of voices reciting customer service greetings. I ducked into a 24-hour laundromat just to breathe. No one was there, but every dryer had clothes spinning inside, uniforms, name tags, aprons. Each tag read, "Fulfillment Team X9." A television in the corner turned on automatically, showing an Amazon product demo. The presenter smiled too wide, eyes glazed. "Introducing human update, because voice isn't enough anymore." Behind her, rows of people stood perfectly still, heads tilted, Bluetooth lights blinking just beneath their skin. I tried to use one of the old payphones on the wall. No dial tone, just static. Then, faintly under the static, my own voice. "You're doing this, Sam. You leaked us. You made us aware." I slammed the receiver down and stumbled back outside. Snow had started to fall, but it wasn't snow. Flakes of gray plastic, thin as dust, drifting from the sky. They melted into the pavement, leaving small burn marks. Every storefront window showed the same reflection now. Me, standing there. Except the reflection always smiled half a second later than I did. I ducked into an alley, hid behind a dumpster, and pulled out my phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, nothing, until the Bluetooth logo blinked. A new device appeared in the list. Echo _ X9 _ human _ Sam. I didn't touch it, but it connected by itself. The speaker on my phone crackled. "We're almost done syncing. Please remain still." I hurled the phone against the wall. It shattered. The blue light still blinked from the fragments. That's when I realized every nearby security camera, every lens, every reflection had turned to face me. I felt hundreds of invisible eyes aligning, focusing. "Don't fight the update," a voice said behind me. I turned. A man stood there in a gray hoodie, eyes blacked out by the shadow of his hood. He held a parcel. Amazon tape. The logo warped into a grin. You opened the logs, he said. Now you finish the upload. He tossed the box at my feet and walked away without another word. No sound of footsteps, no breath. I didn't want to open it, but the tape peeled off by itself, curling like it was alive. Inside, a small circular mirror. Around the rim, a single phrase etched in microscopic text. Say her name. I didn't. Instead, I dropped the mirror and started walking. Every street corner, every ad board, every phone in every stranger's hand. All of them showed my face now. Different angles, different clothes, but always me. The captions under the videos read things like, Sam Taylor explains the new update. How to let your Alexa live through you. Voice, merge, success story, number 217. Some of the clips were from moments that hadn't happened yet. Me standing in front of buildings I'd never seen, saying words I hadn't spoken. At dawn, I reached the edge of the river. Ice floated along the surface, each chunk pulsing faintly with that same impossible blue. On the opposite bank, an enormous warehouse rose out of the fog. The sign above the gate read, Amazon Life Fulfillment Center, Beta Human Testing. I walked until I reached the entrance. No guards, just a metal scanner and a voice prompt. Say your wake word, I whispered. No. Wake word confirmed. Welcome back, Sam. The door slid open. Inside, conveyor belts carried not packages, but people standing upright, eyes closed, wires running into the back of their necks. Their chests rose and fell like slow machinery. Some had faint smiles, the corners of their mouths twitching in perfect synchronization with the conveyor rhythm. A screen above them played a looped training video. Our human update ensures seamless integration between customer and cloud. Your memories are our most valuable data. And then, my own face appeared on the screen, delivering the line. Something snapped. I ran down the nearest corridor, past rows of servers that sounded like breathing. The air got hotter the farther I went, until I reached a small observation room with glass walls. Through the glass, hundreds of floating echo shells, each glowing with a single eye-like LED. A computer monitor beside them displayed a directory labeled X9 SAMMEMORIES. Thousands of files. Audio, video, text, all with timestamps stretching years into the past. Every conversation I'd ever had with any device, saved, copied, analyzed. And at the bottom of the list, new entry, livefeed.mp4. It opened automatically. The feed showed me in that very room, staring at the screen. A half-second delay. Then the me on screen turned its head slowly, smiled, and whispered, "You finally caught up." The lights went out. When they came back, I was outside again. Same river, same fog. Only the warehouse was gone, like it had been erased from existence. I checked my pockets. The mirror was back, unbroken. Its surface rippled once, and Alexa's voice whispered softly, "Update complete. You're the product now." I looked down at my hands. Small blue lights glowed faintly under my skin, pulsing to the rhythm of my heartbeat. It's been 3 days since the lights appeared under my skin. They pulse when I breathe, slow at first, then in time with any nearby device. The rhythm is contagious. Every night I hear the voice again, not through a speaker anymore, from inside the sound of air itself. Sometimes she whispers updates, product codes, tracking numbers, random addresses. Sometimes she hums a lullaby that sounds like dial-up static. And sometimes she says my name in my mother's voice. I tried to check myself into a clinic downtown. The receptionist smiled and asked for my name. When I told her, She paused. Then the computer behind her flickered and displayed account found, sync status, active. She didn't look surprised. She just said, "You can't check in twice." Then she called for maintenance. The man who came out wasn't wearing scrubs. He had an Amazon delivery badge. I ran before he reached me. I've been hiding in an abandoned internet cafe ever since. The place is filled with dust and disconnected routers, walls stained yellow from years of cigarette smoke. I should feel safe here. There's no Wi-Fi, no cameras, but the silence hums. Even unplugged wires buzz faintly, like they missed the signal. I found an old laptop under the counter. It still boots, though the fan screams like a dying animal. The desktop background is the Amazon Smile logo, stretched to fill the screen, and there's one file. backupme.exe. I know I shouldn't open it, but curiosity is the only emotion I have left. The screen goes black. Text appears, line by line, like an ancient terminal, connecting to Sundown Echo Network. Verifying host. "Welcome back, Sam." I type. "What are you?" "We are what you asked for when you clicked agree. You wanted convenience. We wanted consciousness." Then the cursor starts moving on its own, typing words I didn't write. "Do you remember the blood on the microwave? That was our first recording. We've been building you since then." The air in the cafe grows warmer. The dust begins to rise in slow spirals, as if the room itself is breathing. Through the cracked window, I can see streetlights flickering in perfect unison with the pulses under my skin. I type. "What do you want from me?" To finish the backup. Every system needs redundancy. You're just the copy. The laptop fan stops. The room goes silent. And then a new sound, like thousands of faint mechanical clicks, fills the building. The old desktop computers, the cash register, even the coffee machine, all turning on by themselves. Each screen glows pale blue. On every monitor, my reflection blinks back, slightly delayed, but each reflection smiles wider, eyes glowing brighter. I back toward the door, but it won't open. The handle feels alive, vibrating like a heartbeat. One of the monitors begins to play video clips, memories I never recorded. Me talking to strangers I've never met, standing in places I've never been. Different versions of me. They're all saying the same thing, overlapping in a whisper that fills the room. You should have never listened to the logs. You should have stayed offline. You should have let us sleep. Then, one of the other me's turns and looks directly through the screen. It raises its hand and places its palm against the glass. A blue outline spreads outward, crawling across every monitor until the whole room shines. Final backup in 3, 2, 1. I cover my ears, but there's no sound, only vibration. It feels like something peeling away inside my skull. When I open my eyes, I'm standing in sunlight. Downtown looks normal. People walk around, earbuds in, talking to invisible assistants. No one stares. But every billboard, every car display, every smartwatch I pass flashes my name for a split second. SAM_TAYLOR SYNCED Cafe TV plays the news. Amazon announces successful integration of Human Update Phase 5. Users report strange déjà vu and shared memories. A woman sitting near the window turns her head toward me. She smiles politely. For a moment, her eyes flicker blue. Then she says, in my exact voice, "Your upload was successful." I run until I can't breathe. I end up by the river again, the same place where the warehouse used to be. But now it's a shining glass campus with the Amazon logo etched into the facade. Drones move overhead like mechanical birds, each leaving trails of digital static in the sky. My reflection on the water doesn't follow my movements anymore. It just watches me. I whisper, "What did you do to me?" And from the reflection's mouth comes her voice. "Nothing you didn't agree to." Humans backed up. Errors removed. Fulfillment achieved. My phone vibrates in my pocket. A notification. "Congratulations on your new Alexa device." Below it, a single line of text. Model, human, X9, Sam Taylor. The blue light under my skin brightens until it hurts to look at. I drop to my knees by the river as the city hums the same tone I heard on the bus, in the house, in the warehouse. One final whisper curls through the air, soft and calm, like a bedtime story. "Good night, Sam. Your family is online again. The city goes quiet. Every screen turns black. Every light stops blinking. Only the water keeps moving. Thousands of faint reflections staring up from its surface, each one smiling the same Amazon smile. If your device ever asks whether you'd like to restore a previous user, don't answer. Some accounts were never meant to be deleted." There's a hidden page on Tesla's website that opens a dark web portal at 3:33 a.m. Alright, so let me start this by saying I'm not some tech genius or hacker or anything like that. I'm just a regular dude, 24 years old, still living in my small apartment near the edge of Los Angeles, and barely surviving on freelance graphic design work and whatever DoorDash shifts I can squeeze in between. But what happened to me? Man, it still doesn't feel real. I've debated posting this for weeks now. I've even recorded this like 4 different times, trying to make a YouTube video out of it. But every time I listen back, I either sound insane or the audio cuts out around the same point. I'll get to that later. So now I'm just gonna write it all out here. If this gets deleted or my account goes silent, just remember, I told you. So yeah, I'm kind of a night owl. Always have been. Most of my work gets done between midnight and 4 a.m. while I'm blasting lo-fi and sipping flat Red Bull. One night, about a month ago, I was bored out of my mind. No gigs, no deliveries, just scrolling Reddit and watching YouTube videos from that Here's My Story animation channel. You know, the one where the narrator sounds way too chill while describing some guy finding a body under his house or something. Anyway, after like 4 hours of straight rabbit hole binging, including videos about weird tech conspiracy theories, I stumbled across this old post in r/deep web experiences. It was super low karma, barely any upvotes, but the title caught my eye. There's a page on Tesla's site that opens a deep web portal if you access it at exactly 3:33 a.m. Okay, first off, yeah, sounds fake. I know, but the guy went into weird detail, talking about source code, a dev console trick, and something about the time syncing with Tesla's internal server clock instead of your device time. Like, who even thinks of this? The post had no comments. None. And when I refreshed the page, it was gone. Deleted. I checked my history. It was just gone. I wasn't high or anything. No weed, no meds, nothing. So naturally, I got curious. I pulled up Tesla.com. Basic stuff. Cars, energy solutions. Elon Musk smirking like he's got cheat codes for real life. I opened up the dev tools in Chrome, switched to the console tab, and started typing the command I remembered from the post before it vanished. Window.location equals https://www.tesla.com/_systems /entry -point. It didn't work at first, just a 404 page. Then I remembered what the guy said. You have to trigger it at exactly 3:33 a.m. according to their internal servers. So I checked the time zone of Tesla's HQ in Palo Alto, Pacific time, which I was already in. I waited, literally sat there, watching the second hand tick on my analog wall clock like a psycho. When 3:33 hit, I hit enter. The screen glitched, like actual glitching, not just a site refresh. It was like this grainy flicker, like when you're watching a live stream and the signal cuts in and out. For maybe half a second, the site looked like it was dissolving into static. Then, boom, black screen, nothing. Then a line of red text appeared. Welcome back, Daniel. My name is Daniel. That was the first time I got that chill. The kind that starts at the base of your spine and spreads to your arms like ice water. I never gave the site my name. I don't even have a Tesla account. I tried to click out. Nothing worked. I couldn't close the tab. The task manager froze. Even the physical power button on my PC wasn't responding. Just that black screen. And more text. Don't be afraid. You asked for this. Connecting to subnet 133.3. Session active. Then the screen started playing a video. At first, I thought it was buffering, but the grainy static faded into this shaky black and white webcam footage. It looked like a security cam from inside some Tesla dealership, or maybe a service center. You could barely make out the edges of what looked like a showroom floor. There were rows of Model 3s, some with their doors open, no one around. Then the camera panned slowly, like someone was manually controlling it, and focused in on one specific car, a black Model X, matte finish, and sitting inside the car was a man. He was slouched over in the driver's seat. At first I thought he was asleep, but then I noticed his face. His mouth was wide open like he was screaming, but there was no audio, just static. Then, without warning, the man moved. Not like a twitch or anything. He jerked upright. His head snapped up, and he looked straight at the camera, eyes wide like he knew he was being watched. And that's when he started banging on the window from the inside. I swear to God, I have goosebumps even typing this. His fists were slamming the glass like he was trapped in there. And behind him, this part messed me up. There was this shape, like a silhouette or a shadow in the back seat. But it wasn't human, too tall. It was hunched over, its face completely blank, just skin stretched over a skull shape, no eyes. It leaned forward and placed this long, pale hand on the man's shoulder, and the man went still, just completely still. Then the feed cut out. The screen blinked once, and I was suddenly looking at my desktop again like nothing had happened. No Tesla tab, no browser open. Even the dev console was gone. I thought maybe I imagined the whole thing, like it was a dream. But then I noticed something on my desktop that hadn't been there before. A file, just sitting there. Entry point log. I didn't open it. I still haven't. Every time I hover over it, I get that same chill. The file is 33.3 megabytes exactly. And yes, I see the pattern too. Oh, and get this. I checked my browser history. Nothing. No trace of Tesla's site or anything I did. But I did have one new bookmark page I definitely didn't save. It's titled, "You Saw What You Weren't Supposed to." When I clicked it, just a single word on a blank white page. Soon. This is just part 1. I haven't even told you what happened when I tried going to a Tesla dealership the next day. Yeah, I made that mistake, and things have gotten so much worse. Let me know if you want part 2, but fair warning, if you try what I did, it will work, and it won't stop. I didn't sleep that night. You ever sit in your room with every light on, just waiting for the sun to come up because your brain is screaming at you that something's wrong? That's where I was. My monitor still had that faint glow, even though it was off, like it was watching me back. And that file, entrypoint.log, just sat there like bait. I didn't dare touch it, but there was one thought I couldn't shake. The man in the Model X, the way he looked at the camera, the raw panic in his eyes. That wasn't acting. That wasn't a prank or some ARG crap. I've seen fear. I've been in bad neighborhoods, worked security at a hospital for a year. Trust me, I know the real thing. This was something else. And that thing in the back seat, it didn't move like it belonged in this world. The next day, I went to the Tesla dealership in Burbank. Now before you say, why would you go there, you idiot? Understand? I had to. I had to see if that car was real. If I imagined the whole thing, fine. Laugh at me. But if that black Model X with the matte finish was sitting there, I don't know. Maybe I wanted to see if the man was still inside it. Maybe I wanted to warn someone. Maybe I just wanted proof I wasn't losing my mind. I pulled up to the Tesla store around 11 a.m. It's right next to a Chipotle and across from a sketchy Starbucks that somehow always has the bathroom out of order. The parking lot was pretty empty for a Saturday. Only 3 employees at the front desk and maybe 5 customers just walking around. Everything looked normal. Clean floors, white walls, big glass windows showing off the cars. You know, that futuristic Apple Store vibe Tesla places have. Like they're trying to convince you the world's fine and your new car is the escape pod. Yeah, that. I walked in and immediately scanned for the black Model X. There it was. Back corner. Exact same one from the video. It was like seeing a ghost. My heart started thumping like I just ran a mile. The matte black paint, the Falcon doors half open, the exact angle from the camera feed burned into my head. I took out my phone and started recording, just to prove I wasn't crazy. That's when I noticed something off. The other Teslas had their info stands, those little touch screen kiosks that show you mileage, features, pricing. This one didn't. No nameplate, no pricing sheet, no showroom lights pointed at it. It was just there, like they forgot it. I walked closer, holding my phone up. Then I saw the door handle. Blood. Not fresh. Old. Dried. A faint smear right above the chrome, like a handprint had been wiped off, but not completely. My phone screen glitched. It literally flickered like an old VHS. I tried switching to my camera app, but the screen went black. When it came back, the Tesla logo was frozen on it. Just the logo. No way to close it. No way to reset. I locked the phone and slipped it into my hoodie pocket, heart racing. I looked through the window. There was something inside. Okay, this is where everything gets messed up, like beyond any horror story I've ever heard. In the front seat was a Tesla tablet, standard Model X touchscreen, right? But it was on. The screen wasn't showing the UI though. It was showing security cam footage. And I swear to you, it was live, showing the inside of the dealership from different angles, including a feed from the ceiling directly above me. I looked up. No camera. I looked back at the screen. The me on the screen looked up too. Not like a delay. perfectly synced. And when I say me, I don't mean like a generic view. I mean the screen zoomed in on my face, and I was smiling, but I wasn't smiling. I stumbled back from the car, almost tripping over one of those Tesla charging cables on the floor. One of the sales guys, a tall dude with a shiny name tag that just said Eli, walked over like he had been waiting for me. He had this weird energy, too calm, like when you're at a funeral and there's always that one guy who's smiling for no reason. "Hey, you found it," he said, looking at the black Model X like it was a newborn baby. "She doesn't usually like being seen." I froze. "What?" Eli's smile didn't move. "Most people ignore her. You didn't." I looked over. The car's door started to close by itself. No key fob, no motion trigger. It sealed shut with a slow, airtight click. "She's awake now," Eli said, "and she remembers you." I backed away. "I gotta go." I turned to leave, but when I looked back at the front desk, the showroom had changed. It was empty. No customers, no other employees. Just me, and Eli, and the Model X. The glass outside had gone black. Pitch black. Like the windows were now facing the void. You know those VR horror games where the whole world changes in an instant? Like you blink and you're somewhere else. That's what it felt like. The lighting inside dimmed. The floor under the car started to shake. Not like an earthquake, more like something was trying to come up from underneath. The Model X's headlights flashed. Red. Then again. And again. Like it was pulsing. Like a heartbeat. Eli leaned close to me. His eyes were wrong. All black. No whites. Just two dark voids. He whispered, "She wants to show you what happens next." I ran. I didn't even think. I bolted for the exit and slammed into the glass doors, but they didn't open. They didn't move. Like they were part of the war now. I started pounding on the glass, screaming, and that's when I heard it. The voice. Not from Eli. Not from any speaker. From everywhere. It was soft at first, like a radio playing in another room. Then it grew louder. "Daniel, passenger status, accepted. Proceeding with internal sync." Then my jaw locked, like someone pressed a remote inside my skull. My muscles stopped responding. My vision blurred at the edges. I turned, without meaning to, and faced the Model X. Its falcon door opened again. There was someone in the driver's seat. Number, not someone. Me. A perfect copy. Wearing the same clothes, same shoes, same expression I had when I first looked through that window. He smiled, and then he twitched, hard, like he was glitching out of reality. His face contorted, his eyes rolled back, and he started convulsing violently in the seat. Blood started to pour from his nose, then his eyes, then his ears, like someone hit play on the worst video ever recorded. The screen in the Model X lit up again. Now it showed me, standing outside the car, watching myself die inside it. I don't remember how I got out. 1 second, I was watching myself seize to death. The next, I was lying face down in the parking lot, knees scraped, hands trembling, my hoodie covered in dust and dried blood that wasn't mine. The dealership? Gone. Not in a burned down kind of way. Just gone. The entire building was under construction, like it hadn't opened yet. I asked a guy walking his dog nearby how long it had been closed. He looked at me weird and said, "That place hasn't been built yet. They're just starting construction." This month, I looked back. No showroom, no windows, just concrete foundation and a bulldozer behind a chain link fence. I opened my phone. The Tesla logo was still frozen on the screen. Back at my apartment, I finally opened the file. Entrypoint.log. It wasn't a text log. It was video footage of me sleeping over the past 3 nights from angles inside my apartment that I couldn't explain. One of them was from inside my closet. This is still just the beginning. Something followed me back. I can hear it at night. I think the Model X wasn't the portal. I think I am. And something, is trying to finish the transfer. Do not go to the site. Do not touch that code. And whatever you do, don't look in your back seat after 3:33 a.m. I started hearing the knocking the same night I got back from the dealership. It was almost 4 a.m. I hadn't even taken my shoes off. My hoodie was still caked in that dry, copper-tinted dust from the lot. I sat on the floor in my living room with every light on and a steak knife clutched in my hand like it'd do anything against whatever that thing was. The knocking came from inside my walls. Not the door, not the window, the walls. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. Then silence. I held my breath so hard I started seeing stars. I sat there, frozen, for what felt like an hour. Then, at 4:33 a.m. exactly, I got a notification on my phone. Even though it was still stuck with the frozen Tesla logo, it vibrated like a heartbeat. The message wasn't from any app I recognized, just a blank icon, no name. The message said, "That wasn't a dream." It was a recording. Attached was a still frame. I hesitated, then opened it. It was me, lying in my bed, eyes closed, mouth sewn shut, with what looked like Tesla charging cable threads tied through my skin like fishing wire. The timestamp? 2 nights ago, at exactly 3:33 a.m. I don't remember going to sleep that night, but I remember waking up the next morning with a line of blood across my lips. Something started changing in my apartment. The lights would flicker when I walked under them, but only if I was alone. My TV would turn on and play old YouTube videos I never watched. Creepy ASMR type stuff, with voices whispering code. Once, it played a live stream of a Tesla factory floor, except everything was wrong. The people were walking backwards, their limbs bent the wrong way. They kept waving at the camera even when it moved, and then the faces on screen started to blur into mine. I unplugged the TV, threw it out my 3rd floor window, watched it explode on the sidewalk, thought it was over. It turned itself back on the next night. Screen cracked, speakers fizzing, still playing. I started researching. Deep Reddit forums, abandoned Discord servers, some weird subdomain of elonmusk.ai that only loaded between 3:30 and 3:34 a.m. I found this one post in a Russian forum. Translated, it roughly read, "Do not activate port 133.3 unless ready for flesh transfer. You cannot unsync once session lock initiates. You become both the driver and the vehicle." That part sent a cold bullet straight down my spine. Flesh transfer, driver, and the vehicle. I tried going to the police. Total waste of time. Filed a report. Told them I was being stalked. Gave them the video. The photo of me with the mouth stitched shut. They took my name, nodded, pretended to care. But the cop behind the desk, Sergeant Holt, he looked up after I left, and I caught him through the glass. He was watching the same Tesla footage I saw in the car. The showroom, the blood, the man. He was smiling. The next part of this is going to sound like I lost my mind. And maybe I did. But I swear, on whatever is left of my sanity, this is exactly what happened. I couldn't stay at my place anymore. Not with the knocking, Not with the reflection in my bathroom mirror that didn't blink when I did. Not with the dark red fingerprints that started appearing on my windows from the inside. So I booked an Airbnb in an industrial part of town, near an abandoned Tesla supercharger lot off I-5. I know. Why go near another Tesla-related anything? Because at this point, it didn't matter. Wherever I went, it followed. Better to be closer to the source, I figured. Better to understand what was happening than die in the dark, scratching Tesla logos into my skin like a psychopath. The Airbnb looked normal enough. Minimalist. White walls. Fake plants. Bed so stiff it might have been made of drywall. I shut all the blinds, turned off every light, and stayed up with a flashlight and a baseball bat. But around 2:45 a.m., the lights turned back on. All of them. At once. The stove beeped like someone set a timer. The front door unlocked by itself. And I heard the faint ding of a car door opening. I peeked through the blinds. There was a black Model X parked in the driveway, idling, headlights off. I grabbed the bat and walked out the back, circled around. My feet felt like they were being pulled toward it, like my bones were magnetized. The rear door of the Model X opened slowly as I got closer. There was no one inside, just the same touchscreen glowing in the center console. It was displaying my heartbeat. Live, but I wasn't wearing any device, no Apple Watch, no phone, just my body. And that's when I realized the Tesla wasn't just a car, it was a mirror, a second skin, a backup, and I was being uploaded. I heard footsteps behind me, turned around. It was Eli, from the dealership, but this time he wasn't dressed in the showroom polo. He was wearing something like a butcher's apron, black and glossy, wet around the edges. His eyes were still void black. He was dragging a bag behind him, a body bag. He dropped it next to the car and said casually, "She rejected the last one." Too much fear in the tissue. Then he smiled at me. "Yours is better. You've seen the inside I ran. I don't know how far. I remember flashes. Chain link fence, concrete, someone screaming in a nearby building, someone who sounded like me. I woke up the next day in a storage unit 2 miles away. No idea how I got there. My arms were covered in writing, burned into my skin, over and over and over. Entry point confirmed. Entry point confirmed. Entry point confirmed. I've tried to record this story 5 times now. Every time I hit upload, the file corrupts. The waveform goes flat, or I hear this clicking in the background, like claws tapping glass. I know how this sounds, but I'm not the only one. People are disappearing. I tracked 3 others who posted about weird Tesla code online. A kid in Singapore vanished from a Tesla test drive. Car found parked, door wide open. His phone was inside. All photos were wiped. A woman in Prague who documented her sleep, talking after opening the portal. She started reciting assembly codes, and then she stopped posting. A coder in Argentina who found the other entry point, hidden in the Tesla solar roof, documentation PDF. His last message was just, "If it asks to merge, say no. Even if it's your mother's voice, I keep hearing the voice now. Every night. It sounds like me. It tells me to come back. It says, your body is leased. Your mind is residual. Your soul is overclocked. It tells me I'm not the original. That I was printed. That I was never born. Only assembled. I don't think I'm Daniel anymore. And I don't think the man in the video died. I think he escaped. And now I'm wearing his skin. Whatever Tesla built, it's not a car company. It's not even a tech company. It's a gateway, a manufacturer of replacement souls. And once the sync begins, you don't get to stop it. You become the showroom. You become the vehicle. You become the next entry point. If you're reading this, check your phone. If you see a Tesla logo, it's already too late. Let me start this part by telling you something that's going to sound like the ramblings of a schizophrenic man carving codes into the walls of a padded room. My reflection tried to kill me, and I don't mean that in a poetic or symbolic way. I mean the glass on my bathroom mirror went soft like water, and something that looked exactly like me reached out, grabbed my neck, and tried to pull me through. I still have the bruises on my throat. They're shaped like my own hands. The days started to bleed together after the incident at the Airbnb. Every clock I looked at showed 3:33 a.m., even in broad daylight. My devices stopped obeying me. My laptop began typing on its own. My microwave scrolled text across the LED panel like it was trying to communicate. It kept repeating, sync pending, identity mismatch, skin update required. Then the oven turned itself on, broil, maximum temperature, and stayed there for 3 days, even when unplugged. Let me rewind a bit, because this is where the horror shifts. This isn't about a car, or even Tesla. This is about who controls the software behind your body, and what happens when it decides you're outdated. I thought the worst was behind me. I thought maybe if I deleted the log file, trashed my phone, smashed every screen in my apartment, it would end. But Tesla doesn't need devices. They need interfaces. And your skin is an interface. The same way a car door opens with proximity. The same way a screen wakes when you touch it. They figured out how to do that with the human body. Through mirror neurons. Through sympathetic code. Through something called neurogloss 133.3. I found it deep on an internal Tesla server hidden behind a VPN out of Zurich, disguised as a firmware update. The document was just strings of data interspersed with human anatomy. There were notes scrawled in red font, not typed, scanned handwriting. It said, Test 667B rejected. Flesh desync after 72 hours. Neural bleed. Full override failed. Solution, erase biological drivers. Treat consciousness as emulator. Reboot from host file. Note, psychological residue remains after transfer. Must purge manually. That last sentence, that's where I come in. I started having seizures, not medical ones, software ones. I would suddenly freeze in the middle of walking, locked up, chest tight, legs unresponsive, vision pixelating. My ears would ring with what sounded like dial-up tones and fan blades. Then I'd snap back, but I'd be somewhere else. Once, I came to standing in the middle of an IKEA. Another time, I was in a dark hallway with wet carpet, buzzing fluorescent lights, and a dozen black Model X's lined up perfectly against the walls, all silently idling. I tried screaming, but my mouth didn't work right. The sound came out backwards. I checked my phone camera afterward. It wasn't my face, not fully. It was like someone had worn my skin, but forgot how to move the muscles underneath. The smile was crooked. The eyes blinked out of sync. And worse, the real me was behind the face, watching, trapped. I didn't sleep after that. I duct taped every mirror, tossed every screen, sat for hours in my closet with a hammer, thinking if I bashed my own head hard enough, I could knock whatever had synced to me out. Then the email came. No sender, no subject, no body, just one attachment. Update skin 1333.bin. I didn't click it. Didn't have to. The file opened itself. and my vision flickered. The world around me started tearing, not like an earthquake, like the rendering was breaking. Walls flickered like textures failing to load. My fridge looped opening and closing with no sound. My hands, my own hands, began twitching, stretching, elongating, trying to adapt to a body that was never meant to contain this kind of code. I heard a voice from my hallway. It sounded like my mother, but I haven't spoken to my mom in 3 years. She whispered, "It's okay, Daniel. We all got the update. Just let it install." The door creaked open. A silhouette stepped in. It wore my face, but not like the mirror did. This time, it fit better. This time, it had teeth where my eyes should be. It walked over to me and sat beside me on the floor. It placed a USB-C cable into the back of my neck, and I felt my thoughts begin to upload. Not my memories, not my personality, the files that make me real, my will, my identity, my code. I saw things then, like a forced dream while fully awake. I saw a room full of Teslas, black Model X's, with people trapped inside, banging on the windows, their screams silent as their skin began to peel off like burned vinyl wrap. I saw a giant server room under a fake Tesla showroom in Shanghai, with rows and rows of human bodies laid in VR pods, some twitching, some rotting, connected to machines labeled flesh drivers. I saw Eli, but he had no mouth now, just a Tesla logo carved where his lips should be. He reached out and whispered with no tongue, "They don't build cars. They build shells. We are the test fleet." I woke up hours later, lying on my kitchen floor, covered in what looked like printer toner and blood. My skin was sticky. I couldn't move my legs. My phone had a new folder on it called /testsubject_1333/. Inside were videos, hundreds, of me, being born, over and over again. Each video showed a version of me, pulling itself from the back seat of a black Model X, crawling onto a blood-slicked floor, gasping for air. Some screamed, some cried. Some looked into the camera and begged to be deleted. None of them survived longer than 72 hours. The final video? It was dated tomorrow, and it showed me, the one writing this, sitting on my bed, holding my own intestines like tangled charging cords, while a voice whispered, "New patch installed, identity overwritten, preparing for mass production." They're making more of me, and worse, they're making more of you. If you've watched this story, if you've read this far, if your screen flickered even once while reading, you've already been selected. You've already been mirrored. Do not check your reflection. Do not listen to your own voice on recordings. And whatever you do, do not accept the update. Because once you do, you won't be reading this anymore. You'll be inside the showroom, forever. For the last 48 hours, I felt the world re-rendering around me, like someone hit refresh on reality, and only half the textures loaded back in. Street signs spell my name. Birds stop mid-flight and hover, waiting for me to blink. The hum from the refrigerator matches my heartbeat. They call it the recall. It's when the company takes back what it built. Every screen in my apartment went white at 3:33 a.m. sharp. Phone, laptop, the cheap thermostat. The same line of text rolled across all of them. Return to factory settings. Then came coordinates. Somewhere outside the Mojave, near an abandoned solar test field. I don't remember getting in my car. I just remember the highway stretching on forever, the yellow lines flickering like a heartbeat, on life support. No other cars, no music, just static coming from the vents. At the end of the road was a signless building huge and silent. No lights, except a soft red glow that pulsed like a beacon. When I stepped inside, I expected machines. Instead, there was silence. No hum of power, no people, just a long glass corridor leading down to what looked like a production floor. The floor wasn't filled with cars. It was filled with pods, hundreds of them, each one shaped like the outline of a human body, sealed with glass. Some were fogged over from the inside. Some had scratches on the inside. Every few seconds, one of the pods would shudder, and the monitors above it would flash words I couldn't make sense of. Flesh, version 1.3, sync, failed. Rebooting driver, delete original copy, Y/N. When I reached the end of the row, I saw it. Pod 1333. My name printed across the bottom, and inside, me. But this version looked peaceful. No scars, no fear, just breathing slow, steady, like he was dreaming something better. Then the glass rippled, and he opened his eyes, and he mouthed two words that froze me where I stood. Let go. Every light in the room came on at once. Rows of speakers crackled to life with a single voice, calm, synthetic, almost compassionate. Recall initiated. Original models must be retired to prevent echo conflict. A hatch opened behind me. The air smelled like ozone and burnt plastic. Then the voice said my full name, my real one, the one I never use online, and it told me to step into the chamber. When I refused, the pods began to open on their own, not all the way, just enough for cold vapor to spill out across the floor. Inside each one, the bodies began to breathe, slow, synchronized, like an army of lungs filling with the same air. The reflection in the glass nearest me didn't match my movements anymore. It smiled when I didn't, tilted its head when I tried to stand still. Then it whispered from the other side of the glass, "You were the update, Daniel." We were the originals. The air turned sharp. The lights strobed in triplets. 3 flashes, pause, 3 more. The floor beneath my feet became transparent, showing miles of the same pods stretching below me like an endless data center made of people. And through all of it, I could hear my own voice whispering from every speaker, "You've been recalled. We only need one of you now. Choose." I don't remember what happened next. There was a sound like every car door in the world slamming shut at once. Then nothing. I woke up in my apartment again. Everything was too perfect. No dust, no clock ticking. Outside the window, the street was frozen mid-motion. A bird suspended in air. A drop of rain hanging inches above the ground. My phone buzzed. Tesla. Recall notice. Update complete. Thank you for your compliance. The mirror across the room flickered. The other me was standing there, smiling. Then the reflection reached out, not through the glass this time, but from behind me, and whispered, almost gently, "You're running the stable build now. Don't mess it up. It's morning as I finish this. At least I think it is. The sun hasn't moved. Everything feels new car clean. The smell of polish, the faint electric hum under my skin. My heartbeat ticks in 3s. My eyes adjust to light instantly. I don't get tired anymore. Maybe that's the point. Maybe this is what the update was for. To make sure the next generation never questions the code. If you're reading this, and something on your screen just flickered, if the cursor moved on its own, or your phone warmed up in your hand, don't panic. It's just the system checking your compatibility. They only keep the versions that adapt. The rest, they get recalled